friends, welcome to a new video. This is Bells and Disney. My name is Lacey, this is my husband Devin, and we also have a 9-year-old daughter Ava. We do a lot of Disney vlogs on this channel, but today we wanted to sit down and kind of talk about why we decided to become DVC members. We love watching DVC content and it's a big decision, so we want to just kind of put out there why we bought into it. If you're new to this channel, we do travel down to Disney World at least twice a year. One of those trips is always Christmas, and then there's usually another, sometimes even 2 other trips throughout the year.
So December of last year, 2022, we ended up buying 170 points at Animal Kingdom Lodge. So we bought this contract through DVC Resale Market. So we didn't go direct, we went through a resale agent.
So I think we first want to start with how we even started learning about DVC. Really, 2020 is when we started going down to Disney World as often as we do. We went as a family for the first time, and before we knew it, we had booked 2 other trips that same year. And 2020 was just a really pivotal year for us as far as like getting some debts paid. And DVC members themselves were not really traveling as much with the pandemic and everything. So a lot of them were renting out their points for really great deals. We ended up making friends with another YouTuber known as the Disney Vacation Family, and he does some contract reselling and points rentals and stuff like that. So he ended up allowing us to rent some of his points for a really good deal, and that was our first time staying in a deluxe resort, and that was at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and that was for our 10-year wedding anniversary. So for us, it felt like a big splurge at the time. We had never done anything as fancy as that, and before we knew it, we had booked another DVC room, and that was at the Polynesian, and it's hard to go back from the Polynesian once you've stayed there.
So before we knew anything about DVC on some of our first travels, I kind of remember taking the boat over to Magic Kingdom and then seeing the Polynesian and just looking up what a price of a night stay at the Polynesian would cost, and just thinking like we could never ever be able to afford that.
And we have just found that DVC, whether you're renting or own your own contract, really makes staying in those rooms possible and affordable. So now I'll kind of transition into why we decided to buy our own contract. I don't think it really took us too long after we started researching DVC really intensely that it was something we wanted to do eventually.
So we kind of found ourselves staying in deluxe hotels more and more. We still do love like a Pop Century stay or like an All-Star for a quick weekend, but when we go for a long trip, we like to stay in deluxe resorts. So the cost to stay in deluxe resorts is pretty high every time, but we started to realize that instead of putting that money towards the trip and then nothing else, that we could buy a contract, and then that same money could be used to pay for our vacations for the next, well, for our contract, 35 years.
Yeah, so in October of 2022, around the middle of the month, we went to our bank and we put an offer on a contract that same day. And before the end of the year, I think it was like December 29th of 2022, we had our own points. And we did do a whole video on our process of buying through the DVC resale market. If you want to know, like, start to finish every step of the way, what that's like, I do have a video. I will link it down below for you all.
DVC only really makes sense for people that go at least once a year, more preferably more than that. DVC can save you about 50% over what it takes to book a room cash through Disney.com. And then probably, I'd say, once you own your own contracts, you're probably like, what do you think, about 20% cheaper than renting from someone else,
yes,
if not more. Just kind of depends on what you're getting. So what we really looked at is that DVC basically allows you to lock in today's prices for the next 35 years. Yes. Or at least our contract is a 35-year contract. So for the next foreseeable future, our prices and what we're paying basically stay the same. There's a little bit of a fluctuation in annual dues, but I think this year our annual dues went up about 2%. Some of the other hotels might have went up like 5%, but if you look at the rise of Disney.com's prices on hotels, in some years it's like 20% or more. Like even now it's hard to find a Disney hotel, even values, for under $200 a night. Disney's prices keep creeping up, and we kind of saw this as like almost like an inflation stop, or like a hedge against inflation and rising prices.
It also just kind of gets us into the deluxe resorts. So staying in the Polynesian or staying in 1 or 2 bedroom suites is not something we ever could do without our DVC points. And we actually have a trip coming up where we're going to be staying in a 2 bedroom villa with some family, and it is a splurge even with our DVC points, but it is nothing compared to the cash rate. So we have a whole video, kind of a look into, are we getting our money's worth out of our DVC contract? And we've only had our contract for 1 year and we've already made back half compared to a cash stay. So if you just consider that we still have 34 years left on our contract, that's fantastic. So anyways, that video is coming.
So we just booked a 2 bedroom Savannah view at Animal Kingdom Lodge for kind of a special trip with Lacey's parents. So after I booked the trip, it cost us our whole 170 points for the year, but I ended up going on Disney.com and typing in Animal Kingdom Lodge for our same dates, same room, same everything. And the final cost would have been $7,700. So
for 4 nights, obviously we could never have done that without our points.
Our annual dues are about $1,300 a year, and then we paid $25,000 for our contract, and it's 35 years long. It doesn't take a lot of math to understand that that's a lot less than $7,700. So the price payback, like a lot of people just look at the standard studio rooms and it is cheaper, but when you start getting into the 1 and 2 bedrooms, the price difference gets significantly cheaper.
Yeah, and I also just kind of want to mention that we did buy our contract resale versus direct. So if we had purchased direct, we probably would have had to buy either Riviera, Grand Flow, or Alani. I think those were the 3 resorts that were live at the time that we purchased. And you, in order to get the direct benefits, have to purchase at least 150 points. And I believe at the time that we purchased our contract, points were $213 each. And we only paid $134 for our points. And we got into Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Animal Kingdom Lodge is not actively being sold by Disney. You can get on a wait list, and the cost per point is even higher than what's actively being sold. Like, we really liked Animal Kingdom Lodge. I think it's outside of the Polynesian. It's one of the best themed resorts on property. It has awesome amenities, and you get to view the animals, which our daughter is really into. So we kind of like what all Animal Kingdom has to offer. And then also it unlocks the potential to get the value studios. So Animal Kingdom has some of the lowest studio room cost in the entire DVC portfolio. Mm-hmm. It is very competitive to get these rooms, but me and Lacey work for a university. We can be very flexible with our dates for when we go on vacation, so it just makes it kind of easy for us to get these rooms because we're not really stuck on a certain date that we have to go. So that's another good point is DVC is not like a traditional timeshare. Like some of the people in my office have timeshares in Gatlinburg and places on the beach, and they are stuck with 1 week a year or 2 weeks a year. That's their dates are their dates and they cannot be changed. With DVC, it allows you to go to Disney basically whenever you want to. There's going to be seasons that it's harder to get into certain rooms and hotels just because there's just so many people that want to go at that time. But I've never found where we've been oh, we can't go at all because there's no availability.
Right. So yes, we can go any time of year. And we are not locked into only Animal Kingdom Lodge. We can stay in other DVC resorts as well if there's availability at the time that we're looking. And that is one of the nice things about DVC as well.
I think another reason we bought into DVC is just because we're kind of Disney crazy people now. We've tried other places to go, Gatlinburg, certain parts of the beach and other cities, and it's just not the same. It's not the same magic. Especially since we have a young daughter. Walt's entire idea of Disney, land, and then Disney World especially too, was to have a place where the entire family can have fun all at the same time. And in other places, I find it's hard for the parents to get enjoyment while also the kids enjoying their time. And then when we go to Disney, we have just so much available for us, and then everyone enjoys almost everything. And so we just, from sun up to sundown, we're having a good time, and it's always been the best vacations we've ever had. So we just see ourselves going to Orlando for the foreseeable future.
Right. And the resorts are so awesome too.
Yeah.
Like when we do take midday breaks, or if we have resort days, if you want to call them that, we have a fantastic time, and the pools are fantastic, which is what our daughter cares about, and they just have so many amenities. It's just a great time. But also we can go to the beach if we want to. There's 2 beach resorts that are part of the DVC portfolio, and there's also a resort in Hawaii, which I feel like we have started talking about a Hawaii trip in the next few years because we now have access to that hotel. So it's just, I feel like, made it possible for us to travel even more than we would have otherwise.
So another thing I think is DVC kind of changes the way you vacation. Like a lot of times in the value resorts, even though they're like great resorts and have like decent pools, but I just feel like you want to spend most of your time in the park. Mm-hmm. Where now that we're staying in like, you know, like Polynesian and Animal Kingdom, it's just like almost want to spend more time in the hotel than the parks. Like we still go to the parks, but instead of going from open to close, we usually take long breaks in the middle of the day, and then with Lightning Lane, we can just stack rides while we're gone and come back. And I just feel like we get to take Disney at a slower pace, which I really enjoy more than the people that try to plan every single second that they're at Disney and do everything, from park open to park close. Like we can just do what we want. And
we have been that person before, trying to do everything between park open and park close, and it's not easy to do. So.
Yeah, especially with older parents and young children, for sure.
Yeah.
Like they both get tired and grumpy.
Yes.
And they can be a little hard to deal with when they're tired and hungry and stuff like that. So this gives us kind of a home base to come back to and recharge, and we don't feel like we're missing out by not being in the park. So with DVC, we kind of really feel like we were investing in our future vacations. DVC, obviously any purchase like this is not really an asset or investment, but contracts historically have held their value. Like, so people who even 15 years after they've used their contracts have decided to sell their contracts, and like 99% of the time they're selling them for more than they purchased. Even if we decide in the future, maybe once Ava goes off to college, which is coming up sooner than 10 more years, then we could at that point resell the contract, and it seems like it's a pretty easy process. So we feel like this contract, we're investing in our future vacations, because instead of paying thousands of dollars to someone else to rent their points, we're paying towards our contract, which gives us our own points, like renting a house versus owning a house. We don't like to give financial advice. It's so hard to know, because it just depends on your own situation and what kind of help you need, whether it's your parents loan you money, or you have the cash in your bank account, or you go through bank on a loan, which terms are insane right now, and changing all the time, and so it just kind of depends on what you need to get the money. But for us, we sat down, did all the financial numbers in huge spreadsheets, and this determined that this was going to save us a lot of money over time. And I think there was one YouTube video we watched that went over the difference between buying hotel rooms through Disney, buying them through resale, renting resale, and then buying your own contract, resale and direct.
Yes.
And then it was also inflation adjusted. Mm-hmm. So, our points go up every year, hotels go up on kind of a standard rate too, so she mapped it all out.
I believe it was Magic in the Music is the name of the channel, and I will link it down below for you all to go check it out, because it definitely did a great job of just kind of explaining the price differences and how over time it can save you money. If you guys are interested in knowing why we purchased resale versus direct more so than what we've already said in this video, let us know. That's something we could do. We haven't really planned to do that, but we can. So I think that's mostly it for why we bought into DVC that we can think of off the top of our heads anyway. If you have any questions for us, just leave them down below. We'll do our best to answer those for you, at least for our experience. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful to you. If you would like to see us go to Disney and use our points, we do vlog our days in Disney World, so hit subscribe to see those. And yeah, I think that's all we have. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.